Hey everyone, it's Joy here for Heffy Doodle. Today I created a fun Halloween scene card doing some ink blending and some die cutting with products from their newest release. I also have a couple tips for you during this video, so hang on for those. Okay, I'm going to start with the Elm Street dies here, and I need to cut out this frame because I need the centerpiece and the frame. So I'm die cutting that from white cardstock, and then off camera I'm going to die cut this from black cardstock. I want the center to be white because this is where we are going to create our scene for this Halloween card. This is what we're going to be doing our ink blending and stenciling on. And then the frame, when I die cut that from black, is going to be part of our scene, but I need that to be black. So I am using Tim Holtz moon masks. I've got the largest one here. I'm going to tape that down into the center, and we are going to do some ink blending. I want to create a fun, spooky sky. So I decided to go with some purple. So I'm starting here with the Wilted Violet, and then I will bring in the Villainous Potion. Both of these, well, all of the inks that I'm using are Distress Oxide inks. So here's the Villainous Potion around the outside edge. And I'm just going to blend these till I get a nice good blend together. I am going to wipe off my stencil really quick because I want to use Shaded Lilac, and that's a very light purple just around the edges, and I did not want to pick up the ink from my stencil. So once that's done being ink blended with all the purples, I'm going to bring in some black soot because you got to have black soot when you're creating a spooky night scene. So I'm just going to add that around the edges, and I used a smaller blender brush to add that in so the black would not overtake the whole purple scene. Now I'm using the second piece to that moon mask. This is going to add details to the moon. I'm using the Shaded Lilac, and I'm going to be very light-handed with it. I don't want this to be too dark, but I do want that detail. And then I'm just going to brush on some more of that Shaded Lilac, just very lightly to soften the stark white that was the cardstock. So now we have this nice purple moon. I also decided to bring in some spooky clouds. I have never done this on a background, and I've been thinking about it for a while, so this is totally perfect. This is Heffy Doodle's Cloudy Skies stencil. I'm actually going to start with some hickory smoke because I don't want to go too dark on these clouds. I still want to see this moon. I still want the moon to feel like it's lighting up the sky. So I'm just going to use this one side. I'm going to keep it really, really simple. Again, using the hickory smoke, working my way down. And then when I get to the bottom, I was kind of looking at it and I felt like I needed a little bit of a darker edge to all of the clouds. So I decided to bring in the black soot. And I feel like that really made a huge difference. So I want to go around the edges one more time, going a little bit over the top part of that moon and the bottom part of the moon. Then I will bring back in that Cloudy Skies stencil and just very lightly at the bottom, just brush on some black soot. I don't want to get rid of that hickory smoke gray, but as you can see, that really brings in the spooky effect. Okay, so I'm going to finish just ink blending at the top there. And the next stencil that we're going to bring in is the Sleepy Hollow stencil. And you guys, I'm in love with the stencil. As you can see, there's quite a bit of images on here. I'm just going to stick with the tombstones, and I'm doing that right at the bottom using the black soot ink at the bottom of our scene here. Now there's also a couple little bats which I'm going to bring in as well, but when I peel this back, look at how cool that looks against that fun purple background. Now this tree is part of the Elm Street dies, and then of course there's a haunted house. And then I have the Happy Halloween shadow die, and I'm just putting everything in place so I can see where exactly I want to stencil on my bats. I think it's a good idea to lay out your images so that way you can get the whole view of what your scene's going to look like. So I'm going to bring in some bats here. I will stencil up a couple on this side, so it's going to be underneath the sentiment, but it's on the moon and partly off the moon. And then I'm going to bring in a couple more up here, but I like odd numbers of things, and I think it's very pleasing to the eye. So I'm going to add one more over here. I'm going to move that tree out of the way and then stencil one more big bat. And again, I'm using the black soot. Okay, so I'm die cutting the house and the Happy Halloween. This is Heffy Doodle's little die cut machine. It's totally perfect for little dies like this. I am die cutting these from black cardstock. I want all of this to feel dark, so it's going to be purple and black. And I totally am in love with this scene. Here's that super cute, well, it's not cute, it's spooky. The spooky Halloween tree. I'm going to die cut that from black cardstock also. Okay, here's my first little tip. Adding dimension to Scripty sentiment dies. It's really hard to add foam tape behind these kind of things if you're not going to use the shadow, because I'm not. So I like to die cut a minimum of 3 of the same color cardstock. So all 3 of these were in black, and then adhere them together, and you already have nice, fabulous dimension for your sentiment. On my card base, my A2 size card base, I adhered a piece of black cardstock. I did not want any white cardstock showing through. And then for that black frame that I talked about earlier that I die cut from the Elm Street dies, I am adding just a single layer of foam tape because I do want that to have a little bit of dimension. I'm just going to put that in place, making sure I'm adhering it in the right orientation. And then I'm going to adhere our inked background right in the center, and that's going to pop down in and just kind of get pushed back. Behind the tree, I have added some foam tape and a little bit of liquid glue, and it's going on top of the frame at the bottom and the side. Okay, here's my second tip. This haunted house has all of these windows. I did not want to color anything yellow behind it, so I just added some vellum to kind of wash out the background so you don't see it, but you can still see through the windows. So that's a way you can get away with doing that without adding any color, because I didn't want to add yellow to this color combination. So I added some foam tape at the top, a little bit of liquid glue at the bottom, because again, I'm adhering the bottom to the frame and the top to the background panel, so it needs a little bit of foam tape. The Happy Halloween that we die cut 3 of those together to give some good dimension, I'm adding just some dots of liquid glue, and I'm going to add that up at the top. And look at how cool this is. I love all of the black, and I love all of this dimension. So here's that card completely finished. It looks awesome. It has a fun background. All of those die cuts are fantastic, and this card feels super, super spooky. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project, and I hope that you feel inspired. Have a wonderful day. Bye.